I, like Jane Goodall, love the natural world. And if you guys are part of this program, I hope you feel the same way. When I was asked to do this, I've met Jane Goodall. I'm really proud to be part of this program because she's one of the few people when everybody told her she couldn't do it. She could not do what she did. And if you don't know what she did, please go and look it up. Right? I hope you understand how big her story is. But when she was told you could not, she went and did it anyway, and she proved everybody wrong. It's a bit like my story because when I was studying to become a veterinarian, I was also told, well, I don't know why you want to do this. There's no real work there, and you'll be working with the animals. And today I'm lucky enough to work for our country and fly around the world to do work as the Chief Veterinary Officer. Now there was a lot of writing up there. I don't think you need to know it. I think the most important thing you need to know is that I'm passionate about what this ambassador program is about our work with the environment and sustainability. So what I'm going to do is, how many of you know what sustainability is to begin with? Can I put your hands up? Oh, we're off to a bad start. No, seriously, put it up if you think you know. It doesn't mean you have to know it. Great, good. I'm glad I did this slide. So, what it says up here, basically, is sustainability is that we're going to sustain. Okay, sustainability in our lives is that we can sustain ourselves and the way we live according to the environmental factors, the economic factors, and the social factors. This is still, I mean, if you look it up on Wikipedia, it's like 5 pages. So let's get down to what it really means. It's basically how we and our ecosystem live in harmony. Is that the ecosystem can keep us alive. And there's an important thing here. There's a relationship between us and our ecosystem. And does anybody know what an ecosystem is? Who's in biology? Ecosystem? Okay. Ecosystem is basically the natural environment that we live in. And what is the natural environment that we live in? It's planet Earth. So when we're talking about sustainability, we're talking about how do we continue to live on the Earth. So what are we taking from the ecosystem is the question. If we live in this ecosystem, we are taking things from it. We are trying to live sustainably. So what do you think we take from the ecosystem? Any guesses? Yeah, over here. Resources. Okay, that's a nice answer. It's very technical. But when it comes down to it, at a more basic, it's water, it's food, it's oxygen, it's space. And sustainability in our ecosystem depends on how much we use of these things. So, in truth, what I'm trying to get to is, how many people can the Earth sustain? Does anybody have any guesses? One hand's already ready to go up. Go on. Wow. There's probably 1,000 in this building alone. All right? Yep. 10 billion is the world population currently, I think. Maybe more. 8 billion. Okay, good. We've already got some people who are better at this than I am. The truth is, nobody knows. Okay? We are coming up to 9 billion, but nobody knows how many people can stay on this Earth. Some people are worried that it won't work out, and so we need to go to Mars. Some people are worried that we're not being sustainable with the Earth, and so we need to work on that relationship. I ask this question because this is really where the beginning of all this happens, is how do we work and how do we live with our ecosystem? Now, my favorite part about the answer to this is, like Jane Goodall, you just have to look at the natural world. The funny thing about all the animals and all the plants in the ecosystem is that they are very and immediately connected with it. They live as sustainably as they can. And we are one of the few animals, if you will, on this planet that are taking a lot more from the environment. and from the ecosystem. So with that question in mind, how do we live with our ecosystem? I wanted to ask you guys, where does our influence on this relationship start and stop? So where do you think you have an impact on this relationship? You all get up in the morning, you have breakfast, most of you, and then you go to school and you're learning, and then you go home, and then you have lunch, you have dinner. So where here in your lives do you have an impact on your ecosystem? And I just want that to think, what do you do every day that impacts your ecosystem? If you have an answer, let's go.
Using tissues.
Using tissues, that's a very specific one.
Wasting water.
Wasting water, that's one of the most important ones here. In the back? Recycling is a way you can impact it? Bingo, now we're talking about cars suddenly. To get to school, you're impacting, the ecosystem. I'm not saying you don't go to school. That's not a way to save the planet. Okay? Yeah? Wasting a lot of food. You guys are really switched on. Yes, you? Use a lot of gas. All right. So I can see people are picking different things. If you really want to ask, go ahead. Burning fossil fuels in all places. We can do this all day, by the way, guys, but I like that you guys have the answers. You have answers, you know where this is coming from. This already makes me feel a lot better about where this conversation is going. So, what I just did is what I like to call the edge of your knowledge. So at the edge of your knowledge, you know there's your impact on the ecosystem. You know about fossil fuels, you know about wasting water, you know. That is your sphere of knowledge. So, what is the edge of your world? So that is your knowledge. That's up here. That's what you know about the goings-on in the world, the natural world. But about your world, what is the edge, the impact of your world?
People like throw away stuff. If you come to everybody does it,
Okay, so when you throw something away, they think it's a little bit, but if they keep doing it, it can turn out to a lot. And I'll explore this a bit more. So the edge of your world is what you can touch. So I'm going to develop that idea with you, and really at that edge where you can reach, that's where you can start making an impact. And it's the most important because it's at that edge where you start interfacing, you start acting on the ecosystem. So let's go on about the edge of your knowledge. So we've explored here, your understanding of sustainability. We've talked about certain resources. So who knows where their food comes from? Okay? Who knows where your water comes from? Sorry, yeah? Plants and the earth. That's right at the beginning. That's a good answer. Some people say it's Carrefour or Spinneys or the supermarket. Okay? Okay? Where's your water come from? The ocean or lakes or underground, yes. And do you know how much water in this country comes from the ocean and how much comes from the ground? 20/80. Some nice round numbers. Knowing that means you can make a better informed decision about how you impact at the edge. So how many of you are studying geography? At some point. You haven't gone that far? Well, one or two? Okay. How many of you are studying biology? Right? Okay, cool. We need more biologists. How many of you are studying business? Ooh, yeah, everybody wants to be a businessman. Okay. I'm going to tell you a little secret. Anything you study is going to expand your horizon for knowledge, the edge of your knowledge. There's nothing that doesn't concern sustainability. Okay? So I really, if you're curious and you're all these questions and you're going, wow, I need to go in. Anything you read about the natural world, about the world around you, is going to expand your knowledge horizon. Who here goes to the beach? I should go more, but I don't go on it. Okay, what do you love about the beach? Even on holiday, like what do you love about the beach? The weather? It's good, that's it. Pardon? The sand, the ocean, water. Say again? The sun, okay. So, do you think you have an impact on any of those things? Yes? Good. Then we're all in agreement. So now let's talk about the edge of your world. We've explored the edge of your knowledge. Now the edge of your world, and the way I see this is there are many edges of which you can make an impact. The immediate edge is here, right at your fingertips, right? On the edge of your body. Okay, you're in your brain a lot of the time, and then there's the edge of your body. It's what you do immediately at this edge that can impact your immediate surroundings. So, at home, I choose to switch off the water when I brush my teeth. Do you guys know how much water you waste while you're listening to the waterfall that comes out of your faucet? And you're going, and it's like, shh, and you're like, oh, I'm in a rainforest and everything. Do you know how much of that water you're using? How much? No, you're not using any of it. You're throwing it away. You have the water on, and you're brushing your teeth. You're not using that water. So all you've done is you've taken it from the source, and you've thrown it away. That's why when you brush your teeth, if you have to wet your toothbrush at all, you do that, and you switch it off. I mean, it should be like, and that's it. And then you brush your teeth, and then when you're done, and you're really done, then you can gargle and everything. Do you know the difference? And I'm going to do this experiment at home. If anybody cares to follow, I'm on Instagram, and I'll share that with you, but I'm trying to figure out how much of this we're wasting. So if it takes the approved 3 minutes to brush your teeth, and your faucet is running for 3 minutes until you decide to stop brushing your teeth, you could probably lose 1 liter to 2, maybe 3, depending on your faucet, of water before you've even used any of it. And imagine that twice a day for everybody in your house across the country. You think that's a small amount of water? And this is the trick with sustainability and your behavior, your impact at the edge. The little bit you do, and if everybody here, actually I tell you what, if everybody in this room decided tomorrow to open up the faucet, brush their teeth, and I collected all that water from all of you, I could water my whole garden for a week. I'm almost sure of it. And I will try to figure that out. So I've turned my house into a bit of a lab now, because I've gotten so passionate about this. And for people who, just don't experience this every day, the world's so busy that it's hard to catch these things. But I want to share it with all of you. So there's the edge of me, the edge of you, the edge of you. And then there's the household. Okay, how many people have 4 people at home living? Mom, dad, the sister and brother? 5? So no, okay, let's do it this way. Everybody put your hand up if it's you and your parents. Okay, so there's 3. Put all your hands up if you have 3 or more at home. So everybody should have. You do have parents, right? Okay. Okay, so everybody's hands up. And I will keep going up in number. And when I get to the number that you're on, then you can put your hand down. So 3 or more. Yeah, this is everybody. I think you also have family. Okay, you have a family. Like really, I want everybody involved. Like if there's somebody who hasn't had their hand up, you're living alone. So 3 or more? 4 or more? 5 or, and by the way, this is nannies and like the driver and everybody within the house limits, okay? 5 or more? 6 or more? No, we're at 6 people in the house. 7 or more? 8 or more? You notice I put my hand down. I have 7 people at home with us that we're all taking care of, kids and everything. Right? So 7. So now imagine all of them are brushing their teeth and have the faucet up. And guys, this is the smallest of examples. There are so many things that we can do. So now let's move out of the household. Let's move into your neighborhood. How many people do you think are in a neighborhood here? Yeah? And then into a city. And then a city turns into a country. And all of these are edges that you can work on. You can start with yourself, And then you can start with your household. You can say, Mom, Dad, Majid came to talk to us today, and I need to watch you brush your teeth. And they'll be like, I don't want you watching me because I don't brush my teeth that well. Maybe that's not the case. But you can make sure that everybody switches off the water. I've gone down that example pretty far, but I thought it was funny. So then there's your city, or your school, and you're all here at schools. Okay? How many of you are leaving the lights on when there's nobody in a room? Do you know where that, oh, yeah, I'm glad we're all really honest. It's really cool. I appreciate that. That's very cool. So, where does this electricity come from? Have you thought of that? Yeah? Solar energy. I wish. We're doing a great job, and we're getting so much better in this country, by the way. We're becoming a world leader, but I wish it was all solar. It's probably not.
Some energy comes from AC generators, and also some energy just comes from like the factories and those stuff.
The factories and those stuff. Those are power generating units. Those are power plants. What does it take to make electricity at a power plant? Fossil fuels. Okay? So, if everybody left the light on at home, and you scale that, you go from your edge, that's my room, I left it on all day, I forgot to switch it off. Or I didn't. And then we go to the city. And so if every kid left the light on at home, and then we go to the country, do you understand how things are getting so much bigger? Right? And this is how you have to think about sustainability. You have to multiply it through the edges. And as you get bigger, and as you get to the country, what's happening is you're creating this critical mass. You're creating this sum of the parts. So this is where you make the impact. The more you know, and the more you know where you can impact, the more you can change. And this is where the knowledge and your edge of impact cross over. The more you know, the better you can impact at your edge. And the further you reach, the more you can put your knowledge to work. So when you understand that, oh, you know what? I'm going to go home today and I'm going to ask Mom, when she washes the fruit and vegetable, to actually catch the water. So I did this the other day, and I thought it was genius. I was like, oh my God. So I make juice in the morning, and I run the tap, and I'm washing my vegetables. And I just realized all this water is going out. I'm only trying to wash the outside of the vegetables or the fruit, and it's just going out. And I realized, you know what? I could use that water. So I put a bowl underneath it, and I wash the vegetables, and that's ready for the juice. And then I take this bowl, and I walk out to the front door, and I water the plants. Guys, if I did that every day, I'd save a liter a day. And if everybody did that across, and it keeps multiplying. The idea is we have to think about how we can close the loop on these resources. So we'll get to the water part. I'm getting so excited already. It might be the coffee, but I'm just saying. So let's take some examples. Perfect. It worked out just right. Let's go through these questions, and I want us to think through water as a resource. So first of all, where does your water come from in your house? From the sink, from the tap. Perfect. This is the edge of your knowledge right now. So let's follow water back to where it comes from. So we follow water through the pipes. It goes to the distribution center, right? The utilities, the people who sell you the water. Ask your parents, they pay a bill every month. So where is that water coming from? The ocean, okay? So there's probably desalination plants that are turning salt water into water you can shower with and you can use in your house, right? Do you know what it takes to make that water usable? Some of it's filtered, but it's actually a lot of electricity. Where does that electricity come from? Power plants. Let's go all the way to power plants. Now we're doing fossil fuels again, right? So not only are we taking water from the sea, we're also taking electricity from the fossil fuels, and suddenly now you've got these two things that you're taking from the ecosystem, and what are you doing with it? You're just running it and wasting it, right? So if you can save this water when it comes out of the tap, you are actually putting less pressure on these companies to take things out of the environment. And this is how it works. You have to understand that chain. So let's start again. You've got water from your tap. We've talked about what it takes and what it costs. And ask your parents, they also pay the bills. Now, what can you do to impact this? What's your behavior? I talked about the brushing teeth. Who here likes that really long shower in the morning? Yeah, all the hands are going up, right? What's the shortest time you think you could take a shower? 1 minute, like now everybody's like, look, I'm going to show you. I can do a 1 minute shower, right? Okay, so before we get out of control, let's think about this. You could take a 1 minute shower. I'm going to tell you a little secret. When you're using the soap, okay, when you're using the soap, is the water on? No. Just not yes or no. Is it on when you use it? Yes. Okay. Are you using the water? No, hold on. You're still using the soap. I don't know how many people are under there. I'm like, okay, there are some people that do that. But the idea is you don't need the water on all the time. So now, there's your shower. The sink's like, and then like the shower's like, that's the real waterfall. How much of that water are you using? I don't even, like, I have to do that. My wife's going to think, like, Majid's crazy. He's got all the buckets in the shower, and he's trying to run this experiment at home. But the idea is, you understand now when you're really using it, and when you've just got it on. Now think about your house again. Now think about your community. Now think about your city. The trick is, if you can stop wasting water, you actually put less pressure on the city to take it from the environment. And this is how it works. Let's try another one. Food. Somebody said food. Where does your food come from? From the farms? Plants, right? Okay, so farms, plants. Let's pick... Okay, I want to hear your favorite fruit or vegetable. Let's start with fruit. Chocolate, banana. Who said chocolate? Did somebody say chocolate? Hold on. That was a very clever answer. Okay. It's a bean, so I think it's a vegetable, but I will look that up. But where does chocolate come from? From plants, right. Where are these plants? Okay, it's getting out of control. Africa, South America, different places. What does it take for that chocolate bean to be harvested, to be processed, to be made into a bar, and then to get to you? It takes electricity. There's probably a ship or a plane involved because we don't grow cocoa out here. Let's take the humble... Let's talk about tomatoes. Where, and I think the people that are doing the shopping for the house will know this better, where do your tomatoes come from? Okay, she's already got the answer. Okay, so where do your tomatoes come from? Okay, hold on. I want a country, and I'll point out, so put your hand up so we can get some answers. Over there. America? Okay, that's one. Most probably not. Where? They planted. Al-Ain is a good answer. Where? Indonesia? Yes, could be. Most probably the Netherlands. Okay? Holland? is the second largest producer of tomatoes globally. So, if you go to the shop today, you will have most likely two choices of tomatoes. The one from outside the country and the one from inside the country. Which one do you pick? Inside, right? I'm hearing inside. I thought I heard it outside. Inside. Why? What is your impact there? When you decide to buy local, what do you change in? You still get tomatoes, right? You're helping your government. You're helping the farmer, not the government. Okay? The farmer, he worked hard to get. But what are you doing compared to the tomato that's coming from the Netherlands? Electricity and fossil fuels, because you have to bring the tomatoes all the way from the Netherlands. So your choice there is, do I get them from the other side of the world, or do I get them from here down the road? العام, just down the road, they deliver to market. You've made a choice. And this is the important thing. You are always making choices. And your choices have an impact. And it's at the edge of your knowledge. You know now that most tomatoes are coming from the Netherlands, and some are coming from down the road. The more you know about this, the more you can choose, the more you can impact at that edge. So the household, you say, Mom, listen, can we buy local? Because I believe in sustainability and I want to make an impact. And she goes, okay, let's go and see where we can buy local. If you go to the supermarket and you don't see anything local, what do? Buy something to the closest. That's one good option, the buy regional. Or the other is, let's go and find where we can buy local. Or buy something else. You're always making choices. Food is a passion of mine in terms of agriculture. We could talk about this all day, but both of us have things to do. Okay, waste. Now, sorry, I've been talking about what we're taking out of the ecosystem, right? But somebody said something interesting. When you're at the house and you're throwing things away, you can recycle. Okay? So, how much do you throw away at home? Do you guys know? 3 plastic bags, what? Every day or every week? Every day. Do you know how much? Has anybody measured it? I'll take a wild guess that you can fit into the bin that takes the trash out, right? You know those big ones, right? Most of you could crunch over it. So that's like your whole body weight worth of garbage. And then some households that have a lot of people are doing 2 of those. And then the garbage guys come and pick it twice a week, so that's maybe 4. How much of that can you control? Almost half. I like your ambition, that's good. What else? Any other answers? Like, how much of that waste can you control? Not only recycling, but that's also, there's a little trick here. You're all thinking about what you do after you get rid of it. Sorry, for you it's this way. After you get rid of it. Right? So, I've got all this I have, and I'll throw some of it away. What do you do with your fruit and vegetables?
Compost.
Yes. This is, man, I'm so impressed. I don't need to talk to anybody here. Composting, exactly. So you take all your green matter, you put it into compost, and that can go back into your garden. So you don't need to go and buy fertilizer. You're suddenly taking your waste and you're recycling it into compost. What about your plastic? Recycle if you can. Great. Your paper? You can recycle or you can compost, by the way. So paper is a good source of carbon for your composting. That's great. What else? What else are you throwing away? Cans, yes? Cardboard, okay. What about your old iPhone? Right? Who's got a new iPhone every year? Let's be honest. There's some honest people in the back. That's great. But where do those things go? So, you've got all this. Now, you can impact at every level. You can say, don't throw that iPhone away. either give it to somebody who can use it or trade it back in. And the companies will pull those apart. If you have a trade-in program, that's great. The composting. Who's doing the composting? Good idea. But you know what you haven't done? You haven't talked about what you're buying. So when I came in here, somebody's like, would you like some water? I was like, yes, please. They're like, by the way, it's all glass because we don't want to buy plastic. So you can influence what you're throwing away by choosing what you buy. And it's always, so the theory that I have is, we as humans are just a way of things passing through. And there's everything that we're putting out and everything we're taking in. We're like a system. So you can choose what you're dealing with that you have incoming, which is called upstream. If you imagine a river passing through you, so you've got upstream, you can choose and make decisions. And then downstream, you have decisions on what you're letting go. So Hind, my wife, is saying, Majid, I don't want plastic in the house. We used to have all these little bottles of water. We switched all that out, and now we buy one big container and we have glass bottles to share around the house. I decided all of the food we're buying that's going in the bin, I want to use for compost instead of sending it into the waste, in the landfill, which, by the way, takes space, takes resources, and takes money, and it's all a bit of a challenge. So I can do this all day, but I really want to hammer home the message. The message that all of you can take about making an impact. See, the more you expand your knowledge, the more you can see and understand, you push the edge of your knowledge. And as you further your knowledge reach, you can further your impact. And the further your impact, the more sustainable we become. So, I'd urge you all to go home, to share with your family, your friends, and anybody that you care to speak to about why this is important to you. And if you decide to make one impact at the edge of your world, that you share that with your friends and family so their knowledge expands, so they might make the impact as well. And then the sum of all these parts will hopefully get us to a more sustainable world. Thank you very much. Do we want to do a Q&A? Okay, they want to do a Q&A. Okay, so I will ask just that, so I'm not running over our time. I don't know.
No, we are fine.
We're fine?
Yeah.
Okay.
If you're
So
fine,
I'm fine. I get a lot of energy out of doing Q&A because I love curious minds and I want to share.
10 minutes?
10 minutes. Okay, so Aisha, you jump out in front and do this when we're out of time. But I'll take questions and I'll try to answer them as best as I can. For those who are wondering, you know what? Yeah. So for all of you who are in or on Instagram, it's Majid, Majid, AQ for Al-Qasmi. So that's my social media, that's my Instagram, and I try to do as much educating. I've started doing a Q&A online just to get more questions and be able to share ideas. So please put your hand up if you have a question, and I will do my best to answer it. And the lady with the mic will help. So we'll go this way and go back. With your microphone, yeah.
What inspired you to start doing so much like environmental?
Yeah. Okay, so I'll tell you this short story. I was a lot younger than all of you. Who here knows what the food web is? The food web? If the biology students don't know what the food web is, you need to go back to class. No, seriously. You all need to know what... Put your hands up if you know what the food web is. Yeah? Okay. So I was in grade 3. Here's the answer. I was in grade 3. If you're talking, you can't be listening. So I'm going to ask you to listen. If you know what the food web is, when I was in grade 3, I had an amazing science teacher who told us about the food web. And the food web is very simple. You have grass, and the grass gets eaten by a herbivore, and then the herbivore gets eaten by a carnivore, and this carnivore eats another herbivore and some insects, and these insects eat little bugs, and these bugs decompose the green matter, and there's this whole web of relationships. And that immediately sparked something. And I love the way the natural world is all connected. And what I'm passionate about is for us to remember that we're part of that web. So a lot of people forget that they belong and are part of the natural world. And what I'd like to do is to be able to reconnect people to that natural world, to understand that not only does it influence them, but they influence the natural world. So from grade 3, I've loved biology. I'm really passionate about it. And then I got into veterinary medicine because it gave me the widest perspective and the most depth in all of biology. And I continue to love biology in that way. So I hope I answered. There was a young lady who had her, yes, I believe in the back. Yes. Pass it along.
Isn't sustainability important for making sure we have a better world in the future?
So, yes it is. It is because if you are not sustainable, i.e. you cannot sustain yourself, the world ends. Or at least the quality of life ends. So, sustainability, if you'll allow me, is just to manage what we have as our relationship with the world. I'd like it to be better. And for that, we need to manage our resources, respect what we're doing, and respect our impact. Let's go to the other side over there with the glasses.
May, just like the Academy. And essentially, so at this point, after all the impacts, after all the pollution that humans have created, even if every single person were to try and live a more sustainable life, would it matter? Would it help? Because we pretty much haven't used up all our resources, and we're going to still grow as a population, so how could we?
Oh, nice. She's challenging me. So, if we used up all our resources, you and I wouldn't be here today, right? I filled some petrol, drove all the way from Dubai, turned up here, the lights are on. We haven't wasted all the resources. Would it matter? Would we make an impact? Guys, we're the largest impact organism on this earth. We're one of the few organisms that change environments completely to be able to live in them comfortably. Just look at the cities. There's no animal or organism on this earth that does so much to the environment to exist. So if we decided together, and by the way, who knows what the Paris Agreement is? Anybody? Yeah, Paris Accord on Climate Change? Yes, here we go.
It's like an agreement that some countries don't use too much petroleum or...
Okay, I'll explain. The Paris Accord is basically where the United Nations and all the countries came together, agreed they needed to make a change together, you can look it up, to ensure that we don't raise the global temperature 2 degrees. Because if it did, by, I forget the date, we would have a major issue trying to undo that. Thank you so much. 2030. So by 2030. So I'm an optimist by nature. I believe if we all got together and we all... By the way, I'll tell you a secret. Why do I speak to young people? You are the future, exactly. Your behaviors that you learn today will be the future of the world. So if you learn sustainability from this age and you continue to practice it in your later years, we have a better future. If I go and speak to people who have retired, they don't have many more years perhaps to make that impact. I believe education, your knowledge, is the first step in making that difference. Thank you for the question. Here in the front, young man. Wait for the mic. I'm making... You're going to have to run around. Volunteers.
What's your favorite part of being a vet?
That's a very good question. It's why I got into veterinary medicine. It's 2 things, or maybe 3 actually. 1, it's all based in biology. It takes chemistry, physics, mathematics, and everything, but it's this combination of all the sciences as biology. 2, I work with my hands. I don't today anymore so much, but that's why I've started doing all of this engagement. But I love working with my hands and outdoors. And 3, you're like Sherlock Holmes every day. There's always something to figure out. You are always trying to solve problems. When a cow is sick, you're trying to figure out why she's sick, what you can do to help, how you can improve. When somebody comes in with their dog and they have a problem, and it goes past the dog, so they're like, oh, the dog's scratching so much, and then they're doing this. And you go, not only does your dog have a flea problem, but they're biting you as well. That's what these rashes are. And you go, oh, I didn't know that. So you're figuring out problems all the time. And that's really why I picked veterinary medicine. Right, I'm trying to get it equal over there. And then in the back, and then we'll come to this side.
How do you think a nation can be both sustainable but keep up the good economy too? Because sometimes the solar panels can be very expensive.
So I'll rephrase that. So how do I think an initiative can be sustainable and help the economy? Because things like solar panels cost a lot of money, right? I just wanted to slow the question down so everybody understood it. So, when you're looking for a sustainable practice, there's always going to be a cost to start, right? And when solar first started, it was horrendously expensive, where people said, you know what, it'll never be profitable. And there will be costs, not just for money. You have to take the materials from the environment to make these solar panels. The goal here is, when you put money in, that over the lifespan of its benefit, you can bring back the benefit that's more than the cost, including disposing of it. So what you're trying to do is you're trying to make sure that what you get back is more than what it's cost the environment. And it's essentially the return on investment, what you're putting in. And on top of that, sustainability needs to make sure that it's long view. It's not making a profit tomorrow, it's making a return in energy, and if it can take the pressure off the environment, such as using fossil fuels, using all of these things that are difficult for us to sustain, you have a better alternative. And we will always be moving to better alternatives for sustainability. That's a very good question. You had your hand up first. Sorry guys, I want to make sure I'm getting as much of a spread for questions. Okay? This one, and then I'll do one more, and then, so you'll be next. So, okay, the mic over here, please, in the front. And by the way, guys, if you don't get your question out today, I will answer it on Instagram. Like, I'm trying to answer everybody's questions, so you can smash the messages on there. So let's go.
So you have met Jane Goodall before?
Yes.
What were you talking about with Jane Goodall? Like, what were you discussing?
So we were discussing how sustainability in this part of the world needs to be the most important subject. The interesting thing is, over the last 50 years, we've almost all, if you'll excuse me, forgotten how we used to be sustainable. Back in my grandmother's time, they were completely sustainable. They took so little from the environment and managed to live a life. Guys, we live in a desert on a coast. The environment is harsh. Let's just be real with that. I'm not talking about a hot summer. I'm talking about what little you can take. When you take some fish from the sea, you have a camel that will give you some milk, and there's a date palm that will give you. I asked my grandmother, I said, what did you eat every day? Just milk and some dates and fish. How many of you think you could live like that today? Yeah? We've, in this 50 years, just completely forgotten what we used to do. We can learn a lot. And so what we were speaking about was how can we respect and understand our natural world and develop practices, sustainable practices from that past into the future. Thank you. And then the young lady in the back was...
How we recycle the bottles.
How we recycle bottles. So, interesting thing. I am actually, my mom, I'm actually half German. So my mother is from Germany, and when I was there in the summer, any Germans in the crowd here? Nope, there's one. Okay. There's this thing called Pfand. Pfand is actually a practice that Germany has. So when you go to a supermarket in Germany, there's your regular shop, and then there's the drinks shop. Okay, the liquids. And they've done this because all the bottles there that you buy have a little price on it that's called Pfand. This means that you take the bottle home, you drink what's ever in it, and then you can return the glass bottle back, and you get that little bit of money. It's usually, back in the day, it was like 50 Pfennig, or something like 50 cents, 50 Pfennig, or now about €1, I think it can go up to about €1. But what they're doing is they're trying to get you to give the bottle back, so that they clean the bottle, relabel it, put the drink back, and have it back. So they are reusing bottles. Here, we're using PET, and we can recycle the plastics. The plastics can be reused into other materials. The challenge is we have to figure out which one is the most sustainable and see that we might choose to do it. That's after you've bought. You want to recycle? Perhaps you choose not to buy too many plastic, and you buy glass bottles, but you also make sure that you know you can return them. Remember that upstream, downstream? So it's not only recycling after you've thrown it away or when you want to dispose of it. You need to think about the choices you make to begin with. Figure out where's your nearest recycling spot and see if they will take certain bottles. It's a lot of homework, guys, and I know there's furiously writing, but there are so many options. When you choose, and when you're better informed, you can tell the economy, your society, your governments, you want to be sustainable. And the more people do that, the more the governments and the private sector will turn and say, let's provide more sustainability. All right? So thank you very much for your time. I believe the rest of the day has to go on. Thank you so much for your time and your